What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another Infinite Painter tutorial, where today I'm going to show you how you can create this really nice metallic shiny Pokeball design. As always, there's links to everything you're going to need in the description down below. You're going to need the canvas size of 2000 by 2000 and the palette so you can follow along with the exact same colours. If you're using a different app of choice, which by the way you could easily make this design today in a different app, there is a image version of the palette so you can just grab the colors from that if you need to. But again, the palette for Infinite Painter is also in the description down below with a helpful video on how to get that into Infinite Painter as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more of these types of tutorials. And if you want to support me and all the work that I do here, you can hit the join button down below where you get early access to my tutorials, as well as a loyalty badge beside your name that grows over time the longer you are a supporter. And of course, as I said, you'll be helping me and supporting me with all the work that I do here on the channel. So make sure to check that out. Enjoy today's tutorial and let's get started. So we're going to go ahead and create a canvas, of course, that is 2000 by 2000, and then hit the option of create. Once you're through, we need to grab the palette. So if we go to our colors, if we go to the three dots and we go to the option of open, you'll find all of your palettes, and you should have imported it by now. So you can then tap on the 52 Pokeball and you've got the colors. Let's go ahead and start creating some basic shapes. Now let's start off by grabbing this color here. It's the second color in the second row. We want to go ahead and go to our brush, making sure the brush is set to the option of fills, and we want solid fill, and we want to go up to our options up here. Let's go to perspective and swipe across to grid, and as always we're going to create a 4x4 grid, and if you don't see the dots, tap on the magnet, you'll see these two dots appear, and then just drag that into the very bottom right hand corner so that you end up with a 4x4 grid. And then you can go ahead and tap on the magnet when you're done. And then you can position things against mine. This can be quite important in a second. So we're going to go to our create options. We're going to go to shapes and circle. And then from there, you want to go ahead and drag out from the center point outwards. And just keep going until you get to around about sort of this height here. And then let go. And then tap on your circle tool when you're done. You then want to go ahead and tap on this layer, duplicate it. Just go ahead then and tap on the bottom one and just bring its opacity down to say 17 just for a minute. You won't see any visual change, but if you go back to the one above and then you go to the option of your tools and you go to edit and you go to transform and basic, make sure that you use the corner up here just to scale it down completely accurately to what it was before. And you want to scale this down to just under half the height there of the so that row there, for example, those two blocks, just under halfway under the height there. I think roughly there is pretty good. I'm going to just scale it a tiny bit smaller and then tap on my tool where I'm done. I'm then going to go ahead and do the same, tap on it and bring its opacity down to say 19. So you can vaguely see it. Then tap on it and duplicate it. And then the one above, tap on it. You can bring the opacity up to 100 so you can just see it. We're just creating all the basic shapes. If we go to our tools, we go to edit again and basic transform once again. We're going to scale this down in size and it's going to get a little bit smaller yet again. It's going to go to around about say here. Hit the tick when you're done. And we've got one more to do in terms of circles. So tap on the top one, bring it down in opacity and then go back, tap on that layer and duplicate it. And then tap on the top one and bring your opacity up to 100 again. And then go to your tools, edit, basic transform yet again, and just scale this down in size once again to around about this sort of point here and hit the tick when you're done. We've got all of our circles. Let's just go ahead and make sure everything's colored correctly. Now this circle that we just worked on is the correct color already, so that's fine. We can go to the one underneath. That is equally also the same color. So let's just bring that back up to 100% and leave it. And then this next one here, that circle that I'm turning on and off, you want to go ahead and bring its opacity back up to 100% and show it, of course. Let's go to our colors. And we want to go ahead and grab the tone, which is the color here. It's the fifth color on that bottom row. Then go to your tools, go to tools and fill, and then tap and drag to the right a couple of times just to fill in the circle and hit the tick when you're done. And then the bottom big circle, tap on that and bring that up to 100% as well. Now we need to create the rectangle that's going to run through here. So let's just go three dots and save as always, just to give the app a chance to catch up. Let's now go ahead and create the rectangle. So where we are here on the big circle, create a new layer. Then go to your tools and go to the option of shapes and rectangle. And then just draw out a rectangle roughly here, for example, all the way across. And you want the kind of height of that rectangle to match the sort of thickness of that circle there. And then what you want to do is you want to zoom in because you want to get this center dot here of your rectangle in the very center there on that point as best you can. It doesn't matter if it's a pixel or two off. And as long as when you tap on your rectangle tool, it's just slightly narrower on the edges, you're good to go. So let's go to the circle here for a minute, the big circle. Let's grab our eraser and tap on our eraser and make sure we go to the option of calligraphy and the monoline brush. If you set your size to something, say around about 23, that looks fine to me. I'm going to zoom in. Again, I'm on the big circle layer. I'm just going to get rid of this. And I'll have to do it on the opposite side as well. And then once you've got rid of it, as best you can like that, just round off the corner there. So just go round in a circular motion, just kind of give a bit of a curve to it. And then again, just triple check that that's nice and flush in like that. And again, repeat that on the opposite side. So it'll look like that. So we're going over to here. We're going to get rid of it as best we can. Getting in some nice straight lines in here. And then we're going to go ahead and round off the corners as well. Rounding it off as best you can. Sometimes it may end up looking a bit sort of straight line and a bit sort of less like a curve perhaps, but it's okay, it's no stress. As long as it marries up pretty much on either side, you're good to go. Now from there, we just need to go ahead and make the top half red and then we can start coloring in. So let's hit the three dots and save as always. Now on this big layer, we're going to go ahead and go to our tools. Let's go to the option of edit. Let's go to select and rectangle. And then you're going to make a selection here of the top half of your Pokeball. So you can run through on the big circle here. What you then want to do is go to the option here of duplicate, and it will have duplicated it onto a new layer, and hit the tick when you're done. Then go to the big circle again, still the bottom layer, and repeat that step. So go to tools, edit, go to select and rectangle, and just select the top half again, except this time go to the option of delete, and then go ahead and just hit the tick when you're done, and then tap on the red dot up there. So now if you look at your thumbnails, you've got a top half and a bottom half. If you go to the top half, go to your colors, you're going to want to go ahead and grab the fourth color on that top row, and then go to your tools, go to tools and fill, and then tap and drag to the right twice just to fill it in fully, and hit the tick when you're done. So from there, we can now start shading. Let's go to our background color though, this little dot here in our layers. If you tap on that, you can change the color, and then you can see your palette. If you don't see your palette, just try and find it by going to the three dots and open, and you'll be able to find the palette. And we want to go ahead and change it to the last color in the palette down here. Let's then work in the dark area. Now the two dark areas here actually need to be on the same layer. So let's go ahead and tap on the black circle and go to the option of merge, and that puts it all on one layer. What we then want to do is go ahead and just tap on this layer and alpha lock it. So now we can't paint outside of it. You can see that the layer's locked. So if we go to our colors, we go ahead and grab this light gray here. It's the third color in from the right on the bottom row. You can see which one I'm tapping on. Go to your brush. We want to go to the option of sprayers. Where's sprayers? There we go, sprayers, and we want soft airbrush. Now this is going to be the majority of this tutorial using this brush. So let's dial in our settings. Let's make sure that yours match up to mine, 64, 64, and 100 on this option here, just to change that. And that's just my personal preference. Now bring your size down. What we want is a brush size that's small enough that just about fits in that circle. Now that's too small. So we're going to make that a little bit bigger. Let's go up to around about 60. If not slightly bigger again. Let's go up to about 65. Now what I'm going to first of all do is just on the edge here, just very lightly just blend in a bit of grey. Now if you don't have pressure sensitivity, you may need to go ahead and lower your opacity down and layer this in a couple of times, but you want a little bit of grey coming in from the edges. What you then want to do is just run your pen in the middle area roughly in here, not too heavy. You don't want to dial in too much colour. You don't want to keep sort of adding too much. You just want a little bit of grey in the center. You kind of want to leave the edges and then rounding it off. So you kind of end up with this kind of shadow around the outer edge, but you've got that grey tone in there. Then go to your colors and grab this color here. It's the fourth color in on that second row. I'm going to set the brush size a little bit bigger. I'm going to go up to around about say 80. And we want to sort of add in some shadows. The shadow is going to be underneath here, top down, because our light source, by the way, is top right. So we just need to bear that in mind. I'm going to go over the top here, giving that kind of shadow because the red's on top of the grey. You also want to go ahead, I'm going to make brush size a bit bigger again, about 100. That's better. Go around that top edge, darkening that up. And then also round here as well. So I'm just adding in a bit of a shadow underneath that area here. And then you should end up with a little bit of grey still left in there, but you do want to have those nice shadows from above, which will make it look really nice in 3D. You should already be able to see a little bit of depth happening. Let's then go to the option. Let's go to the grey section below. Let's go to our colours. So we're on the big circle, but the bottom half, this grey here. If we go back to our colours, we want to go ahead and we're using currently this colour as the base colour. Now we're going to start layering in some darker tones. So we're going to grab this colour here, first colour on that second row. Brush size needs to be a lot bigger. I'm going to go up to around about, say, 300 to 400, somewhere in that range. You'll find what's more comfortable for yourself. And then we're going to just zoom out a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and brighten that up. Now you can see already I've made a mistake because we need to go ahead and tap on this layer and we need to lock it. So it's all locked. We can't paint outside of it. I'm going to go ahead and just wrap that round on the bottom half, adding in a nice little bit of grey. So we're layering in sort of the early shadow tones at this point. We'll blend that in on this sort of bottom left area around on the edge. Definitely a bit of a shadow that's going to come off of the sort of center point there of the Pokeball. Just wrapping that round a little bit over here, just giving a bit of a generalized bit of a shading. So you end up with a little bit of a light patch in this sort of area here and a tiny bit up there. Let's go slightly darker. So let's go to our colors again and grab this color here, top right of the palette. Again, if you're struggling with sort of adding in too much too quickly, just lower your opacity down. This, we're going to go ahead and be right over here. You can see how wide I am, just trying to get the brush to just add in a little bit towards the edges, a little bit darker. I'm going to hit the 3 dots and save just in case. I'm going to rotate round over to here. And I'm just going to go ahead and just darken up this area here. And then a nice big dark spot on that left hand side. Likewise, I'm also going to try and emphasize this shadow as well, just coming off of the center point. Just a little something like this. Let's then go to our colors again. Let's grab this color here. So it's the second from right on that top row. And we're going to just emphasize a little bit more of that shadow here. So you can see I'm kind of drawing in the center, just hoping that the edge of the brush just catches there. I'm going to go around this bottom left area here, tiny bit round, but predominantly over here, a little bit darker, like so. Kind of blend that round like that. And that looks pretty good. I'm just going to darken up that area there too. Now we need to go ahead and start adding in some quite fine little areas of shadow. So I'm going to bring the brush size right down. I'm going to bring it all the way down to something nice and small. That looks about right, around about sort of 30 to 40. We need to shadow some areas and show kind of chamfered edges. So I'm going to bring it down a bit smaller. I'm going to go down to around about the 30 mark. Here, so you can see where I am in the center there. I'm just going to rotate a tiny bit for comfort. I'm just going to go ahead and bring that round like that and then just tuck it in. There we go. So you should be able to create like a bit of a 3D kind of depth area here. Then go to your colors and let's switch it to our highlight tone, which is this white here, which is the third color on that bottom row. And let's go along this edge here. And it might be quite subtle here, so that's fine. I don't mind that at all. And then let's do a nice little chamfered edge on the inside here. So we're going to come down here and tuck it in. Now, ideally, you want to go a little bit more inside and then tuck that in. And if you're going to have to go over it, just keep it nice and light. You should now get that nice bright edge of the kind of metallic material. And then let's go along here as well. Just a very light one, more in towards the center and let it fade out towards the left. And again, nice shiny look to the material. Let's hit 3 dots and save as always. And let's go ahead and just set our brush size a little bit bigger, back up to again, around about say 250 mark roughly. And then just in here, a little bit of a lighter patch. As well as, let's blend that out. Let's also go ahead and just add in a little bit of lighting around the bottom edge there, because the light source again is top right, should catch on that edge nicely. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually go to my settings quickly and just bring my opacity right down to about 18% there, just so I can go ahead and just wrap a little bit of highlight on that left edge as well. Just a tiny bit. It should end up with something like this. Now let's go ahead and just set that back with the opacity back up to 64 so we don't forget. So let's set it at about 64. 3 dots and save. And while we're working with these grey tones, let's work in the center too. So let's go ahead and go up. Now we've got this larger circle here I'm turning on and off. You can see it's the second layer down. You can go ahead and create a new layer, tap on that layer and clip it to the circle. Let's then go to our colors and let's grab the first color on that second row. Brush size is somewhat fine as where I've got it, about 230. And just in the center, I'm going to go around in a circular motion and slowly but surely I'll reveal the layer that's above. You can see that shape sort of revealing itself. And then more so towards the bottom left area there, I'm just going to go ahead and go around in a circular motion, just adding in this light tone of grey in there. Then I'm going to go ahead and set the brush color to, let's go just to this one here. Let's go to the second from right, top row. Bring the size down. Let's go down to about 140. Just in behind here, a little bit of a darker shadow, again to show depth and elevation. Then set the brush size a bit bigger, about 200, and just go left to sort of top right to bottom left, creating that kind of casted shadow off from that sort of raised point there. And if we go 3 dots and save, it's just habit. Set the brush size down to say around about that 30% mark again, so 30 pixels. I say percent a lot because of Procreate, so just apologies on that one. You just want to go ahead and just wrap that 3D element that we did earlier just into here as well. So you kind of want to have that nice graduation of it kind of fading out. So I've done a really poor job of that. Let's just go ahead and just wrap that in a little bit better. And just wrap it around and then let it flow out on the top. Zoom all the way out though, don't get lost in the detail sometimes, it's really easy to do that. And then let's go to our colors and grab the white again. So it's the third color on that bottom row. And just add that bright edge to this area here. So you want to come around, you take over from the shadow area, and then you just whip that little bit of highlight into there like so. And again, it's just about adding that 3D look to it. We're going to go to the circle above. We can tap on this layer and lock it though, that's perfectly fine. So we just paint directly on it. The only thing you want to do is while we've got, let's go ahead and go to our shaded color, sorry. Let's go to the first color on the second row. Brush, set it a bit bigger. Let's go to around about 90. Just around this edge, I'm just going to very lightly just try and layer in a bit of a casted shadow just round there, ever so slightly. Not too dark because I don't want it to blend with the color below. Then I'm going to go ahead and go to my colors and grab this color here, second from right, and bring the size right down again to our 30 mark roughly, and just darken up around this edge. I'm just going to go ahead and darken that corner up again for that kind of 3D effect. And just like before, we go to our colors and grab white, third color on that bottom row, and then tap away. And let's just make sure we don't undo anything. Just going to go ahead and brighten up that edge, bringing in that lovely highlight from above. You should end up with something like that. You've got that nice 3D look to it. 3 dots, save. Let's go down to the red layer. We're going to create a new layer and tap on it and clipping mask it. We're going to go to our colors. Let's then move to this color here. It's the third color on the top row. Brush size wants to be in that comfortable range that is nice and large. I'm going to go around about that sort of 250 mark to 300, so something around there. First thing you want to do is go round the top edge, just darkening that up slightly, and then you're slowly building in some shadows. I'm just going to shadow here, I'm going to shadow here, I'm going to shadow around the edge, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and make that a little bit darker there if possible. The color's quite similar, so you might not be able to see too much of a change. I'm just going to curve that round a bit more, and then from there we'll go to our colors. We'll grab the next tone, which is this one here, the second color in the palette, top row. And now we're going to get a bit more drastic with the shadows. We're going to go ahead, I'm going to set the brush size a tiny bit bigger up to around about 300. I'm going to wrap that around the top edge up here, layering in that color. I'm going to really make sure it's nice and dark by layering it in, by letting go of my pen and just reintroducing the color again and again and again. And then I'm going to go ahead and darken up this area here, a little bit darker here. Let's then go ahead and sort of create like a bit of a wiggle through the middle and then a little bit off to the left. And blend that if you need to, but a little bit of a wiggle there, followed by a little bit of extra shadow there. Maybe a tiny bit on the very, very edge over here. And we're trying to build up kind of chromy look to it. So it takes a little bit of time. So you should end up with a little something like this. And this color here and here is just simply the original color just shining through. 3 dots and save just in case. Let's go to our tool colors and grab the first color in the palette. We're going to get nice and dark now. And we're going to do exactly the same process. We're going to go around the top edge, darkening that up, seeing where we can really get away with some nice chunky dark color there. And bring the brush size down a tiny bit to about 270. Wiggle that through the center, a little bit off to the left and blend that round if I can. And I'll just tone that down a little bit. I'm going to undo that and just see if I can build up the color a little bit more casually. There we go. I'm going to go around this bottom right edge here and then whip that across. Maybe a little bit in there, very, very lightly. But over here on the left, I'm going to go right down this left-hand side and under here as well, make sure it's nice and dark. So we've got this really nice build-up of color. And while we're using the darkest tone, let's go ahead and bring the brush size down to, of course, that kind of 30 mark for our little sharp edges. And that's going to be on the inside here. So I'm going to come along here and then tuck that in immediately at the top. I'm going to go over it a couple of times. I also want to go ahead and go along this line here. You want to make sure it's a nice straight line. Nice little bit of 3D look to it there. And then likewise, another straight line here in case you haven't already made that nice and dark. So you've got that 3D edge. Let's then go ahead and move to some highlight tones. So let's go to our colors. We're going to move to the color here, which is the 5th color on that top row. Your brush probably wants to be around about, say, the 200 mark. And I'm going to hit the 3 dots and save just in case. And we're going to start off over here. I'm going to give, that's too big, that's too big. Let's go down even smaller, apologies. Sometimes you've got to trial it, 150, just a little bit of a light touch up there. A little bit of a lighter touch. And then over here, we're going to do exactly the same, a little bit of a lighter touch and blend that down, except this one over here can be a little bit bigger. So you've got a slightly bigger highlight on that side. I might add in a bit more over there. Then go to your colors and grab this next tone just beside it. So it's the 6th color and bring the brush size down even more. Let's go down to around about, say, 115. And then over here, you want to sort of start off a little bit light with your pressure if you've got pressure, otherwise lower your opacity, and then just sort of build it up and then go left to right and blend it down a tiny bit. So you end up with this lovely bright highlight. You can then otherwise equally like add in like a random stray highlight, like a little bit of extra something to say, you know, there's a studio lighting this Pokeball. I'm going to bring the brush size down even smaller, down to 104, and I just need to do this almost in one streak like that on that left-hand side. That's all you want to do. And then just like before, we'll bring the brush size down to about 30, and then we'll get that. I'm going to make that a tiny bit bigger. And I'm just going to go ahead and carry on with our 3D edge-like shapes. Now that's way too hard, and just take your time to sort of work in this highlight in there, giving yourself that nice 3D look to it. And then before we carry on, the only thing I want to do is just rotate this and just move it around before adding in some extra effects. So let's go ahead and go to our tools, go to the option of edit. You want to go to transform and basic. And then in the top sort of bottom right corner of each of these layers, there's a little tick. You can check on each tick in the bottom right, turn every single one of them blue. And now you can affect all the layers at once. So all I want you to do is just rotate it slightly, swinging it around ever so slightly and hit the tick when you're done. So you've got a bit of rotation in there. Let's then go to our top layer here. So this top layer that's clipped to the red half. If you tap on this and you duplicate it, and you tap on the top one and change its blend mode from normal to the option of overlay, you will get this much better, more saturated, chromatic style looking texture to the top there. And turn it on and off and look at the difference. It's really nice and saturated, and it's my preference as well. And then likewise for the bottom, you can tap on the bottom one if you want and duplicate that too, to the bottom half here, and then tap on the top one and equally change that from normal to overlay, and you'll get a little bit more of aggressive highlights. But to be honest with you, I don't really like it that much. I think you're better off going for something like a multiply at the top here and maybe toning it down, you know, just getting a little bit of a darker look to it, maybe around about the 40 mark. So from there, the final thing to do is just add in a bit of a sort of shadow look to the floor. So let's go ahead and create a new layer anywhere and then drag it down to the bottom. You then want to go to your colors. Let's grab the tone here. It's the first color on that bottom row. Let's set the brush size to something a little bit larger, maybe around about sort of the 250 to 300 mark. And then go just off to the left over here. There we go, almost like that. I want to be even lighter with my pressure just to try and build up like this kind of gray tone. Now, I actually need to go ahead and bring my opacity down to about 25 just so I can really take my time to build that up. You want this kind of gray-like patch on the floor. And then it ever so slightly trickles to the right. That's perfect. You then want to go to your colors and grab the background color, which is the final color in the palette. Bring that size down to something quite small, about sort of 100 mark. And then just underneath, if not slightly smaller, let's go right towards that 100 mark. Just underneath the Pokeball itself, you want a little bit of a shadow. So shadow first and then the reverb of all the lighting coming off this metallic material onto the ground. Now, you then might want to go to the base layer here, which is the bottom half and the bottom version of it. And then maybe, just wrap a little bit of extra darkness around that bottom edge. Lightly, mind you, don't add in too much, just so it kind of blends with the shadow of the ground. And you may need to redo that or tone it down a little bit, either. And then when you're done, hit the 3 dots and save. Go ahead and pinch your 2 fingers, go full screen before, and you end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed this metallic Pokeball design. As always, make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them. Subscribe to the channel for more cross-platform digital art tutorials. And if you want to go ahead and support me and the channel, as well as get early access to my tutorials, you can now become a member of the channel. There is a link to the join button down below, or just tap on the join button and you can go ahead and show your support for the channel. And you get a loyalty badge beside your name that grows over time, as well as I said, early access to my content. So make sure to check that out. And if you like this video here on YouTube, you will love this one on the screen now. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.